Hey guys, this is Pastor Meshach, and I want to give a little call to action for all the members of my church and for any other Christian that happens to be watching this short video. So as I make this video, a lot of people are still voting. Votes are being tallied, and in a few hours or days, or God forbid weeks, we're all going to know who the next president of the United States is going to be. So I decided to make this video to remind you of this one simple thing. And if you do attend Friendship United Methodist Church, you'll remember this from our study in the book of Daniel this past summer. The reminder is simply this: it is the God of heaven that's to be praised and worshiped, because as it says in Daniel chapter 2, he has all wisdom and power, and it is he that controls the course of world events, including presidential elections. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the scholars. Therefore, if the people you voted for won, fine, but be careful that you don't put your trust in those people, because they're not your salvation. And if the people you voted for lost, fine, but don't act like the sky is falling, because they're not your damnation. No matter who wins or loses, God is the one to be praised. It is he who providentially called them into the position that they now hold. Now, does this mean that whoever wins has a mandate to do whatever the heck they think is best? Absolutely not. Being called by God to serve in a position of authority means that it's your duty to use the power and authority that God has given you in ways that reflect the goodness of the God that called you into that position. That means leading the country in a way of justice and righteousness. It means having mercy towards the disenfranchised and the oppressed. And it means making decisions that will enable people in this country to live well. And I'm not just talking about financial prosperity, but moral prosperity. And this is a very tall task, sisters and brothers, because it's a powerful position. And as we all know, power tends to reveal the corruption that's inside of a person's heart. So this is where you come in. Regardless of who the next president is, I'm asking you to be for those elected officials what Daniel was for King Nebuchadnezzar and all the other rulers in the book of Daniel. Do you remember how Daniel was for them? Well, first of all, he desired God's best for them and for the nation that he was living in. Therefore, he prayed for them. But beyond just praying for them, he also worked hard in the roles that he was appointed. However, and this is most important, his service to them was a byproduct of his service and devotion to God. This means he didn't toe the party line, and he wasn't afraid to tell them what the God of heaven thought about their behavior and about the way that they were ruling, even if it meant getting into trouble. You might recall that he was willing to go to the lion's den rather than obey the king. He didn't want to give up his loyalty to God to show loyalty to the king. Okay, so you might be thinking, what does that have to do with me? I'm not as close to my political leaders as Daniel was to his political leaders. Well, that might be true, but you can still have the same approach in your prayer life as he did in his. And you can still carry yourself in your community as Daniel did in his. Don't toe the party line because you share the same party as the person who was elected. Your loyalty belongs to God and his kingdom. So make sure that in your conduct and your prayers, you're calling our governmental leaders to live according to God's standards for our nation, not the Democratic Party standards, not the Republican Party standards or any other earthly parties, but the party that belongs to God, the kingdom of God. More than anything else, what the world desperately needs in these next 4 years is not 4 more years of Donald Trump. It's not 4 years of Joe Biden, but it's for Christians who live with the spirit of Daniel to stand up and show up. So would you join me in praying for our leaders every single day that God would inspire them to lead in a way that reflects his justice and mercy? And if they don't lead in that way, pray that God would change their hearts like he did Nebuchadnezzar's heart, or for God to give us new leaders that will lead according to his vision of what leadership is supposed to look like.